What up, Wizards? It's Dev, and Chicken's here too. Don't worry, she's the one you actually like. Actually, she just jumped off the couch. I apologize. You're now stuck with me. But don't worry, we got a fun one today because we're going to look at my top 10 favorite Multiverse legends. Now, all this, of course, begs the question, what the heck is a Multiverse legend? I wouldn't blame you for asking because we've been through all of spoiler season. We've talked about every card in the set, and we haven't really mentioned these yet. They are an exciting part of March of the Machine, though, I got to admit. You know, if you remember the retro frame artifacts from the Brothers' War just a couple of sets ago, or maybe if you've been playing a little bit longer, you remember the Mystical Archives from Strixhaven. These are a lot like that. Every draft and set booster is going to have one legendary creature from across Magic history, and it's going to have an appropriate frame treatment given whatever plane it's from. And not only that, but they also took this opportunity to reprint some commanders that like sorely, desperately needed it, and also create some more or less definitive versions of others to kind of get excited about. So there's 65 of these. That's kind of a lot. We're not going to look over every single one, but like I said, we are going to discuss my 10 favorite today and why they're my 10 favorite. We're going to try some different stuff in editing. I'm going to throw some numbers at you. It's going to be a fun video. Sit in, crack something open, take a sip, and let's go. And I'm your favorite Magic Channel's favorite Magic Channel. Best believe that the professor go bananas for my deck tech. And we're back just in time for the honorable mention. Everyone's favorite part of the video. What's the worst card Dev picked? And this time that's basically exactly what it is, because looking through these, I was able to pick exactly 11 on the first go round for this video. So I had to choose literally which of those I thought was kind of the worst, but it still kind of deserves to be in the video, right? And that's Shauna, Ceesay's Legacy. Now, in case you hadn't read her in a while, Shauna is 2 mana, a green and a white, for a 0/0 legendary human warrior that can't be the target of abilities your opponents control. Spells are still fine, but not abilities. But the truly cool part is that she gets +1/+1 for each creature you control. So she seems to be really good in these like tokensy Selesnya commander decks, and a lot of Selesnya commander decks are pretty tokensy, so she's not a bad card, but she's not often the commander. On EDH there's only 294 dedicated decks on the whole site with Shauna as the commander, which leaves her at rank 1106. That's pretty far down there, although it's not the farthest down the list that we'll look at in the video. Just letting you know, a little breadcrumb for you. But either way, if you want to get the original Dominaria, non-foil, just regular Shauna, it's about 5 cents right now, and a nickel is not a bad deal. It's 10 times that to get the Multiverse Legends one, but I think 50 cents is a pretty good price for this thing. There were a total of 10 of these Dominaria legends that got repurposed with stained glass frames, and this is the only stained glass frame that's done by Rhonda Libby, who just did an incredible job here. I think it's easily the best of these stained glass legends from Dominaria. So this is just an incredible looking card to me. I love the trail or banner or flag or whatever it is that's coming off of her sword, and I love this kind of sunbursty effect with the blue and kind of orangey in the background. Just everything about the composition here is incredible to me. I like the overall style. Hello again. That's what I meant when I said this video was going to try some different stuff with editing. I don't think every list is going to be like this from now on, but let me know how you feel about it because, you know, just got to try different stuff sometimes and see what works. But one way or the other, it's time to get on to the actual list here, starting with number 10. And quick shout out to sort of super fan Actual Cat Lady, Discord runner, patron member for a long time. You're always on the streams. Shout out to you because you'll be super happy to know that number 10 is Finn the Fang Bearer. Now, I'm not sure quite as many people are going to need a primer on Finn, but just in case you do, it's 2 mana, 1 and a green for a 1/3 human warrior with Death Touch. Whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. That's right, it's this guy, everyone's favorite Death Touch poison commander. He's the only guy that does that, which is probably why he's so well loved. I mean, compared to some of the numbers we just saw, this is vastly different. There are 5,186 decks right now on EDH Rec for this guy, and that puts him in the top 100. He currently ranks at number 90. And the price differential here is actually basically exactly the same as it is for Shauna. When you think about it, it's about 50 cents. So Finn the Fangbearer cost about 45 cents for a regular old version of him from Kaldheim. But if you want the Multiverse Legends one, he's a whole $1 right now, which I actually think is kind of a steal for how good this card looks. God Machine did a very, very good job here, if you can't tell. I just think, again, this is now the definitive version of Finn. It just adds a lot of color to the palette here, especially when compared to the sort of monocolor one from Kaldheim. Now we get this red sky with this beautiful orange sun or moon or whatever it's supposed to be, just adding a ton of rad looking color to the card. I really like the way this thing looks, and I think it's worth $1. Now for number 9, this is the first time we're going to look at a frame that we'll be looking at a few times in this video. It's the city frame, and even though I'm not sure that I love the city frame itself, I tend to really like the kind of storybook / cartoonish art inside of them. So for number 9, I still got to say I'm not sure they reprinted the right Niv-Mizzet, but we're still going to look at a Niv-Mizzet for number 9. It's Niv-Mizzet Reborn. Now this Niv-Mizzet I did have a lot of fun with in Standard, I got to say. It costs 5 mana. It's Wooburg for a 6/6 legendary dragon avatar with flying. When he ETBs, you reveal the top 10 cards of your library. For each color pair, choose a card that's exactly those colors from among them, put the chosen cards into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Now, considering this is a 5-color commander that cares about multicolored spells and is a dragon, this still has a good bit of love, even if I don't think it's quite the right Niv-Mizzet, right? This has 3,162 decks on EDHREC, which makes it number 205. Not a bad listing altogether. And there's a kind of a huge difference in terms of price between the cheapest Niv-Mizzet and this Niv-Mizzet. I gotta say, it's 80 cents or so for an original Niv-Mizzet like this, but it's $10 right now for the Multiverse Legends one, and I'm pretty sure that one's going to go down. I don't know if I'd pay $10 for it, but I will say this is the best looking art that this card has had so far, and I guess that's because it hasn't really had a whole lot of art so far, but regardless, this is a very good looking card one way or the other. Illustranesia did such a great job on this, especially the background, which I particularly like and think is kind of an underrated feature of the card, but Niv-Mizzet himself looks great too. I love the coloration from like red to blue on his head fins. I'm sure there's a technical word for those. I'm not sure what it's called, but I also love the fact that he has little hands. Just a great job on the art here. Now, for number 8, this was not originally on the list, it turns out. Originally, I had like Baral and SRAM on the list. I thought these looked cool, but then I realized that I think that just their retro frame treatments look better, and I would rather have those. So I kicked them off the list and had to come up with a couple of other things to put on here. So for number 8, we ended up with Lathiel, the Bounteous Dawn. Lathiel is 4 mana, 2 a green and a white for a 2/2 legendary unicorn with lifelink. At the beginning of each end step, if you gain life this turn, distribute up to that many +1/+1 counters among any number of other target creatures. Now, I can like and respect a decent Selesnya life gain commander, and apparently a bunch of players can too. This has some love on EDHREC. It's got 2,838 decks currently, and it's about number 237, which means it's not really that far behind Niv-Mizzet Reborn. Right now, it's about 30 cents for a normal copy of this card and $1.65 for the Multiverse Legends one. But I actually think that I'm kind of don't mind paying $1.65. And honestly, this will probably go down as packs get open if I'm, not mistaken, but one way or the other, I'd say that it's probably worth somewhere between $1 and $1.50 for this version of the card if it's your commander, because it just looks so good. Again, especially compared to the older art, which is a good looking card, don't get me wrong, but when we're talking about definitive versions, look at how good this card looks. Sean Wood did a great job with Eldraine's fairy tale style here. Lathiel almost looks like she's composed of smoke or something, or pure light, I'm not sure. There's like radiance coming off of her horn, just a gorgeous card. And again, even right down to the background, just a gorgeous looking card, and I can't gush about it enough. As far as unicorns go, this is one of the best looking unicorns that's ever been rendered in art on a Magic card. Now, for the next couple of entries, we're going to see new art for Ikoria Legends, and I love pretty much all the new art for these Ikoria Legends. They all look really cool to me, but they all can't make the list, right? Like, I love Yorion's new art. It looks great, but the card irritates me, and I don't like it. If you like, I know there's a lot of people out there that love Yorion. If you do, no shade to you. I don't like the card. I should like the card, but I played against it too much, and it was ruined for me. So you can't quite be on the list, but a couple of these can, especially when you're a legend that basically anthem affects 2 of my favorite creature types in Magic. So let's look at Kaheera. Kaheera the Orphan Guard is 3 mana, 1 and then 2 green-white hybrids for a 3/2 legendary cat beast with companion, but let's not worry about that. It has vigilance. Each other creature you control that's a cat, elemental, nightmare, dinosaur, or beast gets +1/+1 and has vigilance. So if you're wondering what my 2 favorite creature types on this card are, it's obviously cat. I think you could guess that one. And then nightmare. It even gets some points for dinosaur, which is a cool creature type. But nightmares don't get enough love, and I've always been a fan of the fact that this is an anthem for nightmares. You just don't get a whole lot of those. However, a bit surprisingly, not as many people appreciate this card as I do. This is actually the lowest ranked EDHREC card on the list. There's currently only 187 decks on EDHREC with Kaheera as the commander. And that makes her number 1,306, which is a big ouch. Nonetheless, she's still about $1 to buy a normal copy of. And this is actually the best, I guess, ratio we've seen from normal price to this price. It's about $3, 3 times as much to buy this version of Kaheera, which I do think looks much better. She's popping out of the art. I mean, they just did a wonderful job. Niv-Mizzet, I'm sorry if I mispronounce any artist name in this video. I apologize profusely, but I'm trying to give credit where it's due. And Medri did a wonderful job making this piece just look larger than life. This is one of the few cards on the list that I definitely for sure plan on buying, but so is the next one. Because number 6 is yet another cat. That's I like cats. I don't know if you knew, but if you've been watching the channel, you probably gleaned it. But one way or the other, I actually haven't narrowed it down that much because there's multiple legendary cats on Ayara. It could be Nethroi, but it's not Nethroi. Instead, we're going to look at the better one, the one that's just better. It's Lurrus of the Dream Den. You guys remember this freaking nightmare? It actually is a nightmare. It's 3 mana, 1 and then Orzhov hybrids, 2 of them, for a 3/2 legendary cat nightmare with companion. It has lifelink, and once during each of your turns, you may cast a permanent spell with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard. You probably didn't need me to read that one. It's seared into your brain through sheer irritation. And that familiarity with the card has bred far more decks on EDH than its companion Kaheera. This card has 1,806 decks on EDH. That is nearly 10 times the amount Kaheera has, and it puts it at a rank of 385. Surprisingly, Lurrus is only about 75 cents to buy a copy of from Ayara right now, but it's $3 to buy from Multiverse Legends. But I think it's worth another couple of bucks for this art alone, because look at what Steve Ellis was able to do here. I mean, look at the little cub with 4 eyes. Look at its tail. Look at the background color palette used there. The way he's mixed kind of a grayish and like a sea foam. I don't know if I'm exactly correct on that, but it looks good. Look at these trees. Like, look at the way that he's used brush strokes in the background here. Just a gorgeous looking card that makes Lurrus look bigger and meaner than it does on its original version. So just, I really like the sort of, again, like cartoony, but like comic booky, very heavily inked style on these. Just, gorgeous cards, all of them from Ayara. And I'm kind of sad I really only had to pick my 2 favorite. But for number 5, we're going to look at another Orzhov legend, if that's okay. And again, just like cats, in case you didn't know, in case I haven't mentioned it 1,000 times, I like Orzhov. It's my favorite guild. So don't be surprised if there's a few Orzhov cards on like all of my lists. This one's no different. Let's take a look at a heavy hitter though. Let's check out Teysa Karlov. Now this Teysa is 4 mana. It's 2, a white and a black for a 2/4 legendary human advisor. If a creature dying causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Creature tokens you control also have vigilance and lifelink. What a ridiculous, just, you know how much I like sacrificing little guys, so you know I like me some Teysa Karlov, and so does everyone else. This is one of the highest ranked cards. As a matter of fact, checking my numbers checked, this is the highest ranked card that's on this entire list. It has a total of 8,399 decks on EDH, blowing just about everything we've seen besides this out of the water entirely. And a total rank of number 34. This is in the top 35, the top 40, whatever you want to call it. So obviously a well-loved commander here. It's about $3.50 to buy a normal quote-unquote copy of this. But get this, in a shocking twist, it's only $5 to own the Multiverse Legends. And that, again, is the lowest ratio we've seen from original cost to Multiverse Legends cost so far. And I think that is very, very, very much worth it, because this is a beautiful rendition of Teysa. Just look at all that Barbara Rosiak has done here. I really love her wings, first of all. I want to point that out, or cloak that she's wearing, whatever that is. But the trail of fabric is also just beautiful, the way that it flows. Aside from that, there's a sort of like tragic fragility to Teysa overall in this piece that I really like. And again, the background I have to praise, a sort of halo-y stained glass effect in the background is gorgeous as well. Just wonderful job all around, really capturing Teysa and humanizing her in this art. Just gorgeous piece. Now for number 4, let me actually go back to what I alluded to earlier. The fact that I had to kick a couple of cards off this list, and that freed up a couple of spots. Now, you would think that a card that wasn't originally on the list would make it all the way to number 4, but I figure Yarok deserved it. Yarok is 5 mana, 2 in Sultai colors, black, blue, green. We old-timers used to call that bug. It's a 3/5 legendary elemental horror with death touch and lifelink. If a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. This is an extremely popular commander that's been getting pretty expensive, so I support a reprint in basically any form for this card, and that's one of the reasons that it landed on this list. Right now, this is the second most popular commander in this entire video. It's got over 8,000 decks on EDHREC too. 8,130 to be exact. That puts it just 3 spots below Teysa on the EDHREC power rankings list, I guess, at number 37. Now, an interesting thing about this one too, that I felt warranted it being in the main video, was the fact that an original copy of Yarok cost about $11 right now. And in a weird twist, this version, the Multiverse Legends one, cost about $11 right now. This is just about the only one that's at exact parity with the original price. And in some cases, you can get this version for cheaper, which almost never happens. Now, I want to stress that I don't think that Jessica Rosier did a terrible job here. I think the card looks really good. I especially like, again, the way the background is painted here. I've always liked this kind of dark green that they use for deep forest scenes. It's kind of brooding and moody, you know. I love that. And I do love the way that the red in the foreground of this art kind of contrasts with everything else. It is a good looking Magic card, and I'm not putting it down. But now we're getting into the top 3, everybody. And wait. Do you guys smell coffee? Am I having a stroke? Oh no. It's that time, isn't it? Don't tell me. Oh God, where did this come from? It's not. You guys, I think it's time for a coffee break. This week on the coffee break, we'll be discussing the most expensive cards in Multiverse Legends. And for some bonus content, we'll also be discussing the least expensive card in Multiverse Legends. But let's go ahead and get started with number 3 on our list of the most expensive. It's Grimgrin, Corpseborn. Right now, this extremely popular commander will cost you $70 in the Halo foil treatment for Multiverse Legends. That is, of course, a lot of dollars, but it's not quite as many dollars as Atraxa, Praetor's Voice. This is currently the most popular commander on all of EDHREC, sitting at number 1 in the rankings with over 20,000 decks dedicated to it. Right now, the Halo foil treatment of the Multiverse Legends Atraxa will cost you $150, making it the most expensive version of Atraxa to date, which confuses me because for my money, the Double Masters version of Atraxa is much better looking. However, even though that is undeniably a lot of money, the number 1 card more than doubles it. Ragavan Nimble Pilferer in Halo foil treatment sits currently at a $320 market price, so if you get one, you should probably sell it. Of course, as promised, we will also show you the least expensive card in Multiverse Legends, and currently, that is Quende, Pride of Femeref. Multiple cards on the list currently sit at 50 cents, whereas Quende sits at a sad 45 cents. It is very sad, because Quende is a cool card. Thank you for attending the coffee break this week. I now release Dev from the hypnotic brain spell I have cast upon him, and send you back to his office. Good day. Beans. What? Hell, what's going on? Where did I get this coffee? Oh, jeez. I don't know what happened, but that is delicious. Let's move on, though, I guess. Let's keep plowing forward to number 3 on our list. And again, if you know me, you've been waiting on Judy. Here she comes. Judith, the Scourge Diva, is 3 mana, 1 a black and a red for a 2/2 legendary human shaman. Other creatures you control just get +1/+0. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, Judith, the Scourge Diva, deals 1 damage to any old target. Now, have I told you I like sacrificing creatures? It's a thing I really enjoyed doing. We actually did a Judith Commander deck tech on the channel about a year or so ago now, and it's one of the few Commander decks I've ever built, especially one of the few that I've ever actually put on the channel. So I had a lot of fun with that. I love Arakthos Blood Artist Commander. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do with this, but apparently not everyone feels the way I do, because surprisingly, there are only 699 dedicated decks right now for Judith. Not that many, especially when it puts her at number 745 on the overall ranking. As a result, she's not that expensive. You can get a normal copy for 20 cents to a quarter, but this one cost about $1.65. And for what it's worth, Benjamin E. did a great job of capturing the sort of joyful glee that you think Judith would carry out her duties with, right? The first card that she was printed on, she looks a little mean, which is fine with me. I enjoy an attitude. I completely understand why Judith should look a little mean, but this is Rakdos we're talking about here. I think that she should be a little joyful in doing what she is tasked with doing, although she'd probably do it regardless of whether or not it was her job. But one way or the other, Benjamin did a wonderful job here. Now, for number 2, can we look at something else you sacrifice creatures to? Sure, thanks. It's my list. Let's look for number 2 at one of my favorite creatures of the last few years. That is true of pretty much all of the top 3 entrants. Really, all of them. Most of these are like some of my favorite creatures of the last few years, but I guess that just intensifies as we go on. So for number 2, let's look at Ayara. Ayara, first of Locthwain to be exact. This is 3 black mana for a 2/3 legendary elf noble, and when it or another black creature enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. You can also tap it and sack another black creature to draw a card. Now, the fact that this is completely mono black has probably kept it down a little bit as a commander compared with some of the other stuff you could be playing, but it hasn't kept that many people from playing the card. It has 3,056 decks on EDH right now, and a total rank of 212. Not too bad at all. And the price has stayed pretty stable. It's about $4.15 for the Throne of Eldraine one, or you could pay $6 for this one. Omar Ryan definitely understood the assignment on this one. Just everything about the card, again, I think is superior to an art that I already really liked. And again, the use of color is just gorgeous. Beautiful card. But let's move it along to number 1, finally. My favorite card in Multiverse Legends. And there's a few reasons why. I feel like there's not a whole lot of printings of this card. That's one tick right there. It's also really cheap, which I think is important. It's a budget commander that a lot of people love. It's got a lot of decks on EDH Rec. Tick for the list right there. And it's one that I personally enjoyed a lot in Standard. And we had a lot of fun with on stream. Can you guess what it is? 3, 2, 1. Number 1 is Dina. Now, Dina is a green and a black for a 1/3 legendary Dryad Druid, and whenever you gain life, each opponent loses a life. You can also pay 1 and sacrifice another creature to have Dina get +X+0 till end of turn, where X is the sacrificed creature's power. Now, despite the fact that this sacrifices creatures, this is not necessarily like an Aristocrats commander or anything, but it's really, really close, right? What this actually does is turn your life gain into an offensive tool, and that's the kind of life gain commander I can really get behind, especially when it only costs a couple of mana, and a bunch of people agree with me too. This currently has 6,419 decks on EDH Rec, which puts it at number 65 overall. Not bad to be in the top 100. Well into the top 100 for that. Now, the normal Strixhaven Dina, which does look awesome, by the way, this is some of my favorite art on an original card on this entire list, but I still think that this sort of Strixhaven Mystical Archives frame treatment is a little bit of an upgrade, and it cost 50 cents. And props again, by the way, to Benjamin E., the only artist to appear on the list twice, who also did, I believe, the Judith from the City frame treatment, but did this for the Strixhaven Archives, like the Mystical Archives frame treatment. And they're both similar, but obviously different frame treatments. And I just love that he was able to work in both of these styles so well. These little purple bubbles in the sunburst here have little cups and mugs in them. That is wonderful. But that is all I've got for this list. Make sure you stay tuned for the couch card of the day. We're going to get to that. But first, just let me know how you felt about the list. So do that. Like the video on your way out before you cut the lights. Hit that button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because this is the fun part of the season. Sleepers video coming up next. Top 10 sleepers. Top 25 cards after that. Spent $5 on the set. Deck techs. We're going to really dig in and start doing some fun stuff for the next 2 or 3 weeks here on the channel. So make sure you're subbed. Check out the Patreon if you want to support us around here. I'd really appreciate it. I need money. Aside from that, you can check out the Twitch where Sunday evening I will be reviewing every single card in the set in a speed run. I heard Amy the Amazonian, shout out to Amazonian. I heard that it took her like 8.5 hours to review the entire set. I don't know how much a speed run is going to take, but we will try to get through that. Join my torment and watch me just slowly go insane on Sunday on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/SBMTG Dev. Don't listen to me. There's text on screen. It's also a link in the description. I make it easy for you. But one way or the other, let's do the couch card of the day. It's everyone's favorite thing. Let me not look at whatever card I'm picking. I haven't picked one from the sort of top in a while. So what's this? What's this card? We got a good pull today, ladies and gentlemen. We don't get a good pull every day. But this one, I think we did all right. We got Karn, the Great Creator. That's a pretty good pull, right? I thought this is a real one, too. This is, it's not like a proxy or anything. It's a real Karn, the Great Creator, just sitting on my couch unsleeved with cat fuzz all over it, like Igby was up there earlier. Aside from that, I guess I'll catch you cats later. I'm Deb from The Place. Thanks for watching, Wizards. Spread love and be kind.